For decades, no-till farming has been sold as the future. Not as an option, not as one tool among many, but as the solution, the system that would save the soil, save the climate, save the farmer. Across conferences, universities, government programs, and agricultural magazines, the message became simple and absolute. Stop tilling, and everything gets better. Better structure, more organic matter, more water retention, less erosion, higher yields, lower costs, a miracle, wrapped in crop residue. And millions of farmers believed it. Because the story made sense. Tillage breaks the soil, so leaving it untouched must protect it. Simple logic, clean narrative, easy to repeat, but agriculture is never simple. And soil is not a slogan. Today, after more than 40 years of large-scale no-till adoption, something uncomfortable is happening in the data. Yields are plateauing, soil compaction is rising, input dependency is increasing, weed resistance is exploding, and profit margins, in many regions, are shrinking. Quietly, without headlines, without conferences dedicated to the failures. Because no-till has become more than a practice. It has become an identity, a belief system. Questioning it is treated like heresy. But real systems do not care about beliefs. They respond only to physics, biology, and economics. And those systems are sending signals. Signals most people don't want to read. This is not a video against no-till. No-till can work, sometimes, in specific soils, in specific climates, under specific management. This is a video about something more dangerous, how partial truth became an absolute rule. How marketing replaced nuance, and how an entire generation of farmers was pushed into a system that many were never equipped to manage. To understand how this happened, we need to go back, not to a field, but to a crisis. In the 1930s, the American Great Plains turned into a desert. Wind stripped away entire layers of topsoil. Farms collapsed, families fled, the Dust Bowl became agriculture's original trauma, and it rewired how the world thought about soil disturbance. Tillage was no longer just a tool. It became the villain. Decades later, when herbicides became powerful and cheap, a new idea emerged. What if we plant crops without touching the soil at all? In trials, erosion dropped sharply. Residue protected the surface. Moisture stayed longer. It worked. In those conditions, so the narrative began. No-till equals conservation. Conservation equals sustainability. Sustainability equals moral superiority. By the 1990s, no-till was no longer just agronomy. It was policy. Subsidies favored it. Certifications promoted it. Universities built careers around it. A system was born, and systems defend themselves, especially when billions of dollars orbit around them. Seed companies adapted. Chemical companies adapted. Equipment manufacturers adapted. Planters became heavier. Sprayers wider. Herbicide programs more complex. Everything evolved around one assumption. The soil must not be disturbed. No matter the cost, no matter the context, no matter the side effects. And that's where the cracks began. Because soil is not just dirt. It is a living structure. A layered system of pores, roots, fungi, bacteria, air, water, and minerals. It needs protection, but it also needs movement. In nature, soils are disturbed constantly. By roots, by animals, by freeze and thaw cycles, by microorganisms. Structure is created, destroyed, and rebuilt in cycles. No-till interrupts one of those cycles. Sometimes that is beneficial, sometimes it is catastrophic, but the industry stopped asking, when, and started saying, always. That single word changed everything. Farmers noticed small things first. Fields that looked fine from the surface, but stayed wet too long in spring. Roots that grew sideways instead of down. Hard layers forming 10 to 20 centimeters below the surface. Yields that stopped improving despite higher fertilizer rates. Planters struggling to place seed consistently. Herbicide programs growing every year. At first, these problems were blamed on management. You're doing it wrong. You need more residue. You need better rotations. You need cover crops. Always more complexity. Always more inputs. Never doubt the system. But over time, a pattern emerged. Even highly skilled farmers, with perfect rotations, perfect residue, perfect equipment, were hitting the same invisible wall. A wall below the surface. Literally, soil bulk density increased, macropores collapsed, oxygen diffusion slowed, roots suffocated, microbial activity shifted, carbon accumulated on the surface, while deeper layers degraded. On paper, organic matter went up. In reality, soil function often went down. But those numbers looked great in reports. And reports are what funding agencies read. There is a reason most no-till promotion focuses on the top 5 centimeters of soil. That layer is easy to measure, easy to photograph, easy to sell. Below that, the story becomes inconvenient. Compaction layers don't show in brochures. Restricted roots don't fit in conference slides. And yield stagnation is blamed on weather. Always weather, never the system. This is the lie, not that no-till works, but that it works universally, that it has no structural limits, that it scales infinitely, that biology alone can replace physics. It cannot, and in the next part, we'll look at the data most presentations skip. Long-term yield curves, deep soil density measurements, input cost trajectories, and the uncomfortable trend they all share. When no-till is criticized, the defense is always the same: look at the science. So let's do exactly that. Not the slides shown at conferences, not the summary tables in brochures. The long-term field data, the kind collected quietly, year after year, in research plots that do not care about marketing. Because short-term results are easy to impress, long-term systems are not. In the first 3 to 5 years, no-till often looks exceptional. Soil erosion drops sharply, surface organic matter increases, fuel use goes down, labor efficiency improves. On paper, it looks like a revolution. But agriculture is not judged in seasons. It is judged in decades. When researchers extend trials to 10, 15, 20, even 30 years, the curve changes. In many regions, yields follow a predictable pattern: initial rise, then stabilization, then stagnation, sometimes decline, not dramatic collapse, something worse, a slow ceiling, corn that refuses to cross previous records, soybeans that plateau, wheat that improves everywhere else except in the same fields. Farmers respond the only way the system allows: more fertilizer, more chemicals, more technology. Inputs increase, output stays flat, profit compresses. One of the most consistent findings in long-term no-till trials is bulk density. A technical term for something simple: how tightly the soil is packed. As years of traffic accumulate, soil particles settle, pores collapse, air disappears, roots face resistance. In conventional tillage systems, this is periodically reset. Not perfectly, not without damage, but mechanically. In strict no-till systems, it is not. Instead, compaction migrates downward, out of sight, below the layer most soil tests sample, below the layer most extension publications photograph. A dense horizontal barrier forms, 10 to 25 centimeters deep, shallow enough to block roots, deep enough to ignore. Researchers call it a traffic pan. Farmers call it that hard layer. Plants call it the end of the road. Root scans in long-term no-till plots show the same geometry repeatedly: dense mats near the surface, horizontal spread, limited vertical penetration. The plant explores less soil volume, less water, fewer nutrients, less resilience in drought, which means higher dependency on irrigation and fertilizer. The system claims to reduce inputs. The reality often increases them, just not in the first 5 years. After that, the invoice arrives. Another inconvenient metric is nitrogen efficiency. No-till systems frequently show higher nitrogen immobilization in surface residue. Microorganisms consume available nitrogen to decompose crop remains. That nitrogen becomes temporarily unavailable to crops. Farmers compensate: higher application rates, split applications, stabilizers, more passes, more cost. In regions with cool springs, early nitrogen deficiency becomes chronic. Yellow fields in April, green again by June, yield unaffected, profit reduced. The numbers balance in yield reports. They do not balance in bank accounts. Weed pressure follows a similar curve. Early years, residue suppresses emergence. Seed banks decline, optimism rises, then evolution intervenes. Selection pressure increases, herbicide programs intensify, resistant populations appear. One species at first, then 2, then 5. What used to be a simple spray becomes a chemical choreography. Multiple active ingredients, precise timing, higher risk, higher cost, zero tolerance for mistakes. The system becomes fragile. A single rainy week can destroy weed control. And yield, and profit. Long-term economic data tells a quiet story. Cost per hectare in strict no-till systems trends upward faster than in flexible systems. Not because no-till is inefficient, but because it demands perfection. Perfect timing, perfect residue, perfect equipment, perfect weather. Any deviation is punished hard. Meanwhile, conventional or reduced till systems trade soil disturbance for operational flexibility. They lose organic matter, but gain control. Two currencies. Farmers choose which one hurts less. The most revealing data comes from side-by-side trials where systems are allowed to adapt. Not ideology. Systems where farmers use no-till when conditions are favorable, and disturb soil when structure collapses. These hybrid systems often outperform both extremes. Higher average yields, lower variance, lower risk, stable profits, but they are invisible in policy. Because they are difficult to classify, difficult to subsidize, difficult to brand, they do not fit slogans. No-till advocates often present organic matter as the ultimate metric. And organic matter is important, but it is not a currency you can spend if structure is broken. Carbon stored in a compacted soil is like money locked in a frozen bank account. It exists, but it does not circulate. Roots cannot access it, water cannot move, biology suffocates, function matters more than content. A soil with 2% organic matter and good structure often outperforms a soil with 4% organic matter and poor aeration. But structure is harder to measure, harder to sell, and impossible to certify with a single number. The data does not say no-till is useless. It says something more uncomfortable. No-till trades visible problems for invisible ones. Erosion becomes compaction. Mechanical disturbance becomes chemical dependence. Fuel costs become input costs. The bill is delayed, not cancelled, and then there is scale. Small plots respond differently than thousands of hectares. Light equipment is different from modern machinery. A research tractor is not a commercial harvester. Which leads to the next problem no one wants to talk about. Not soil, steel. No-till was born in an era of light machines. Small tractors, narrow planters, low axle loads. The soil had time to breathe. That world no longer exists. Modern agriculture runs on steel. And steel is heavy. A fully loaded combine harvester can exceed 35 tons. Grain carts approach the same weight. Sprayers stretch wider than football fields. Planters carry more fertilizer, more seed, more technology. Everything is larger. Everything is heavier. Everything touches the same soil. Again, and again, and again. Soil does not forget pressure. When weight exceeds the bearing capacity of the soil, structure collapses. Not slowly, instantly. Macropores flatten, aggregates fracture, air is expelled, and unlike surface compaction, deep compaction does not recover. Roots cannot fix it, earthworms cannot fix it, microbes cannot fix it. Physics wins, always. In conventional systems, deep tillage occasionally disrupts these layers. Not gently, not perfectly, but effectively. In strict no-till systems, those layers remain untouched, protected, preserved, like a concrete floor beneath the crop. Invisible, permanent. Traffic patterns make it worse. In theory, controlled traffic farming can limit damage. In practice, few farms achieve perfect alignment. Weather interferes, labor interferes, harvest timing interferes, so machines wander, and compaction spreads. Year by year, pass by pass, researchers measuring penetration resistance in no-till fields often find values that roots physically cannot cross. Not slowly, cannot. Plants respond by doing the only thing they can. They adapt. Shallower roots, thicker roots, more energy spent pushing sideways, less energy producing grain. The plant survives. The yield suffers, silently. Ironically, the more advanced the farm becomes, the worse the mechanical problem grows. Autosteer increases efficiency. Bigger machines reduce labor. High-capacity equipment shortens harvest windows. But each efficiency gain adds mass, adds pressure, adds depth to the damage. Technology solves logistics. It breaks physics. This creates a feedback loop. Heavier machines, right pointing arrow. More compaction, right pointing arrow. Shallower roots, right pointing arrow. Lower drought tolerance, right pointing arrow. Higher irrigation, right pointing arrow. More traffic, right pointing arrow. Even more compaction. A closed system, optimized for short-term efficiency, hostile to long-term structure. Some farmers notice the contradiction. They invest in low-pressure tires, tracks, flotation systems. These help at the surface, but pressure does not disappear. It only redistributes. Deep soil still feels the load, especially when wet, and farming cannot pause for perfect conditions. Crops do not wait. Rain does not negotiate. Schedules rule everything. So machines roll, even when soils beg them not to. In small experimental plots, no-till often performs beautifully. No heavy harvesters, no grain carts, no logistics. Reality is different. Commercial fields are factories, not gardens. They run on timetables, contracts, and narrow profit margins. Machines are chosen for speed, not soil kindness. This is where the narrative fractures. No-till assumes a world of gentle traffic. Agribusiness operates in a world of industrial movement. The two philosophies collide underground. Out of sight, out of presentations, but not out of consequence. The economic pressure makes this unavoidable. One more machine can replace 3 workers. One wider planter can plant in half the time. One bigger harvester reduces weather risk. Efficiency keeps farms alive, but soil pays the price. And in no-till systems, that price is deferred, hidden, until yields stall. When farmers finally react, options are limited. Deep ripping breaks the no-till doctrine, but restores function. Leaving it untouched preserves ideology and sacrifices performance. Some choose faith, some choose profit. Few admit the conflict publicly, because the industry punishes doubt. Equipment manufacturers do not advertise compaction. Chemical companies do not mention root restriction. Seed companies breed plants to tolerate stress. The system adapts around the damage, not to prevent it, to survive it. This is the machinery problem. No-till was designed for a mechanical world that no longer exists. And the modern mechanical world was not designed for undisturbed soil. They coexist, poorly, and when roots fail to reach nutrients, when compaction limits biology, when structure collapses silently, the system compensates in only one direction: chemistry, which leads to the next chapter. The most profitable, the most controversial, and the most dangerous dependency no-till has created. No-till is often described as natural. Less disturbance, more biology, more balance. The irony is brutal. Modern no-till is one of the most chemically dependent systems ever created. When tillage disappears, chemistry replaces it. Weeds are no longer controlled by steel. They are controlled by molecules. Precise ones, powerful ones, expensive ones. At first, it looks efficient. One pass, clean field, problem solved. But evolution is patient, and weeds reproduce faster than policies change. Every spray is a filter. It kills the weak. It selects the resistant. Over time, the field becomes a laboratory of survival. The same herbicide that worked for 10 years fails in 1. Then 2. Then everywhere. Glyphosate was once a miracle. Now it is a background ingredient. A base layer. No longer a solution. Farmers respond rationally. More products, higher doses, more combinations. Pre-emergence, post-emergence, residuals. Programs replace products. Costs double, then triple. Margins shrink. Stress rises. The soil feels this too. Microbial communities shift. Fungal networks weaken. Some bacteria thrive, others vanish. The system becomes chemically stable, biologically simplified, like a forest replaced by a plantation. Alive, but fragile. Pests follow the same path. Monocultures plus surface residue equals perfect shelter. Insects overwinter safely. Pathogens persist. Fungicides increase. Seed treatments multiply. Resistance evolves again. The cycle repeats. No-till did not invent this problem, but it accelerates it, because mechanical control is removed from the equation. One dimension of pressure disappears. All selection pressure moves into chemistry. And chemistry always loses in the long run. Evolution is undefeated. There is also a quiet dependency farmers rarely discuss. Timing. Chemical systems demand precision. A missed window can mean disaster. Rain at the wrong hour. Wind at the wrong day. Supply chain delay. One mistake becomes visible at harvest. Steel allows correction. Chemistry does not. Financially, this changes the risk profile of farming. No-till systems become high efficiency, high dependency, high vulnerability. When everything works, profits look good. When one element fails, losses are immediate. Brutal. Policy reinforces this structure. Environmental programs reward residue, not resilience. Certifications reward appearance, not root depth. Subsidies encourage compliance, not adaptation. So farmers optimize for rules, not for reality. A strange inversion occurs. A system promoted as low input becomes one of the most input intensive. Fuel decreases. Chemical spending explodes. Work shifts from mechanics to management, from iron to molecules. Some farmers try to escape this trap. They reintroduce light tillage, occasional disturbance, strategic resets, and often, it works. Weed pressure drops. Chemical programs simplify. Roots recover. Yields stabilize. But their identity collapses. They are no longer pure. They are no longer models. They become invisible. The industry prefers simple stories. Heroes and villains, clean categories, no-till or not, good or bad, but soil does not care about identity, only about function. The chemical dependency is not a conspiracy. It is an emergent property. Remove steel, chemistry expands to fill the vacuum, and then dominates the system. Which leaves the final question. If no-till is not universally good, if machinery breaks its foundation, if chemistry replaces its promises, then when does it actually work? That answer is uncomfortable, because it destroys the slogan, and replaces it with something harder. Thinking. After all the data, the machinery, the chemistry, and the economics, the question remains. Is no-till a mistake? No, it is something more dangerous. It is conditional, and modern agriculture hates conditions. It prefers rules. No-till works best in environments that share four characteristics: stable soil structure, low traffic intensity, diverse rotations, moderate yields. Take away any one of these, and the system weakens. Remove two, and it begins to fail quietly. Where no-till truly works. 1. Light to medium textured soils. Soils with natural aggregation, high sand or stable loam content, low shrink swell behavior. These soils resist compaction better. They forgive mistakes. Clay-heavy soils do not. They remember everything. 2. Dry to semi-dry climates. Long dry periods allow natural cracking. Freeze-thaw cycles reopen pores. Biology has oxygen. Waterlogging is rare. Structure survives. In humid regions, compaction accumulates faster than nature can repair it. 3. Low axle loads. Small to medium equipment. Controlled traffic. Patience during wet seasons. Rare in commercial agriculture. Common in research stations. And in marketing. 4. Diverse crop rotations. Roots with different architectures. Deep taproots. Fibrous grasses. Cover crops used as tools, not as decoration. This biological diversity replaces some mechanical disturbance. Not all, some. When these conditions exist, no-till can be exceptional. Lower erosion, stable yields, reduced fuel, better margins, real sustainability, not the brochure version, where no-till struggles or fails. High-yield systems, more traffic, heavier machines, tighter schedules. Physics overwhelms biology. Monocultures, shallow root systems, uniform stress, rapid pest evolution, chemical dependency explodes. Clay soils in humid climates, slow drainage, high compaction risk, limited natural restructuring, roots suffocate. Ideological management, never disturb, never question, never adapt. This is where no-till becomes fragile. The real lesson is uncomfortable. Soil management is not a religion. It is engineering, and engineering is situational. The most resilient farms in long-term studies are not the most extreme. Not pure no-till, not constant tillage, but adaptive systems. Farmers who disturb when structure collapses, and protect when erosion threatens. Who observe, measure, adjust, repeat. These systems do not look good on banners. They cannot be summarized in one word. They cannot be certified easily. They cannot be sold as a movement. But they work. No-till did not fail agriculture. Agriculture failed no-till by turning a tool into a law, a method into a moral identity, a technique into a marketing strategy. The future of farming is not zero disturbance. And it is not permanent disturbance. It is intelligent disturbance, applied only when the system demands it. The uncomfortable truth is simple. The soil does not care what we believe. It responds only to what we do. And that is the lie nobody wanted to admit.